talking about winning 2 games. Okay.
Speaking of wide receiver.
Yeah, speaking of wide receiver, he needs to get paid. CeeDee Lamb still MIA. Now, last week, Mike McCarthy said contract negotiations were like Fight Club. First rule, don't talk about it. And Micah Parsons went the other way, gave a robust quote. Take a listen.
CeeDee's a part of his brotherhood, whether he likes it or not. He know he's not going nowhere. The business side, they're going to take care of it. I'm pretty sure he'll be here soon because no doubt about it, week 1, he will be suiting up for the Dallas Cowboys. So,
okay. Do you trust for the Cowboys to get this done?
This is the one where I think your Jerry Jones trying to time media cycles theory could be correct.
Okay.
I think the reason Dak's not done is because they don't want to commit to Dak for the next 4 years. That's why I think he's not done. I think CeeDee's not done because the Cowboys do business poorly but are always planning to get this done. There are 3 big-time wide receivers that are unsigned. 2 of them, I know what's happening. Jamar Chase is unsigned because the Bengals are a notoriously thrifty franchise. And they, except for Joe Burrow, guaranteeing money past year 1, is signing guys early. It's just something they don't do. Got it. Brandon Ayuk is not signed because the Niners are like, man, can we have the highest paid edge, the highest paid DT, the highest paid left tackle, the highest paid tight end, highest paid running back, and 2 $25 million a year receivers? Maybe not. Like, that's why he's not signed. There's no reason for CeeDee Lamb not to be signed. He is the only thing you fear, I shouldn't say thing, I apologize. The only person you fear on their offense is from a skill position standpoint. He's coming off his best year. He's healthy. And by the way, because he's on a 5th-year option with a cap hit of $18 million, when they give him, I know the NFL cap's weird, if they give him $30 million a year, his cap hit for this year almost assuredly would go down. So even though his salary would go up. And so I'm very, very confident the Cowboys are signing CeeDee Lamb. I don't feel that way about Micah this year because they didn't sign CeeDee after 3 years. And I don't feel that way about Dak because I think they're treating Dak like Mike McCarthy, a prove-it year, and it's fine if you leave. But I think CeeDee's getting done.
Okay, Greg, we gave you a little assignment in the production office on, like, are you worried at all about CeeDee getting being 100% ready to step in and seamlessly transition into the game? Are you worried at all about CeeDee's ability to just ramp up?
I'm not terribly worried, but if I were to be worried and I were to list some of the things that would be concerning, this would be my list. It would look a little bit like this.
Oh, professional list maker.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of pressure on you, buddy.
I wouldn't say I'm a professional list maker, but there's 3 things that would be a bit concerning. Bit concerning. When you think about a receiver that has missed time, and if we can show the list, at number 3, for me, timing issues. The reason why I have this on here is because the expectation going into this season right away is for he and Dak Prescott to pick up right where they left off. We saw him have, to your point, one of the best seasons in franchise history. The expectation is for he and Dak to move right along, doing that same thing as week 1 presents. If he's not in camp, there's no sense of, man, I expected him to do that. You got to work through some kinks. I'm not saying it will take a long time, but this is something to watch. At number 2, it would be mentality. And I know someone would be like, why would his mentality be different? Well, we don't know. We don't know where his space is right now, his head space. But when he gets back in that locker room, you know the first thing everybody's going to start talking about?
His money?
His money. Yeah. You know what else they're going to talk about? Like, man, why were they playing with your money? And at some point, CeeDee Lamb is going to either engage with it, and he's going to almost revert back to the space that he's in right now, which is
even after he's paid,
which is probably frustration because the media is going to talk to him about it. What took it so long? All these different things are going to come up, which is going to prevent him from just truly focusing unless he nips it and says, I don't want to talk about that. I'm here now. This is moving forward. We'll see where his mentality is. Number 1, clearly conditioning. And coach, this is probably head coaches, position coaches, and players alike, number 1 concern. When you are missing time and there's no way to possibly emulate being in pads and practicing. I've never met a player, maybe Tom Brady, I don't know, who has in the offseason taken a practice schedule or a training camp schedule and their pads and helmets and said, you know what? Let me go and simulate what it's going to look like when I get back, because I'm not there yet. I've never met a player do it. I've never known of a player doing that.
I see a lot of Instagram videos,
and so
guys.
The first thing coaches tend to do when a player comes back and he hasn't been on the field and they haven't seen the level of conditioning is we're going to be cautious with him. And so if this leads into right before week 1, you better believe it's going to be hard for them to just say, CeeDee, go.
Huh.
Yeah. First of all, it's so nice to get a list like that.
Thank you, Coach.
So refreshing. It's so refreshing.
Thank you.
It's clean.
And it was clean. Thank you for that. And I do agree. Going into the season, if it's that close, you're going to be worried about how good a shape he is, and then how much should you play him? Because what you don't want to do is you go in, you play him a lot, and then he gets some sort of soft tissue injury, which is realistic, and it is. It's hard to simulate having the helmet on, having the pads on, being hit again, and you're going to be so excited to play him, as much as you can, and he's going to be excited to justify the money he was just given, that you almost have to pull back the reins to make sure you get the most out of him as you possibly can.
Well, hold on, Coach, can I interrupt you
Sure.
quickly? Playing the Browns, it's 17-17 late in the third quarter. Who's monitoring that? Like, CeeDee, can you come out, please? We have you on a pitch count.
Well, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go in before it gets to the third quarter. Like, you're going to have to give him some breaks, some space in there. Otherwise, yeah, it could be 17-17. He goes in, pulls a hamstring, and then he's out for the next 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and now you're going to be kicking yourself. So there's going to have to be some discussion between him, the head coach, the training staff, everybody's kind of what's the best plan to maximize. Now, all that being said, CeeDee at 50% of the reps is much better than whoever the next guy is.
Sure. Got you.
That's going to take his place. So,
2 things real quick. I know we have to move on, Dust. I apologize. One is, last year we had 2 star players hold out into right before week 1 and into week 1 in Chris Jones and Nick Bosa. Pass rushers as not as from a conditioning standpoint necessarily, but as far as need to be on the same page with your teammate, very differently than wide receiver. The other thing that I just wanted to throw out there was, Greg, it was, I'll begrudgingly say, a great list with one minor tweak. You said pick up exactly where they left off. My other concern with Dallas is CeeDee and Dak did not leave off in a good. The last game they played together, CeeDee was upset.
There was
snap
definitely
one.
some frustration.
And so I think it would have been good for them. They were great all year, and then that playoff game, it was weird from the very beginning. So I do think it would oddly be good for, not oddly, but it would have been good for them to get some reps on the field together prior to a game that counts to kind of move the Packer game, whatever the hell was going on there, further out.
Help you get over those hurt feelings.
$32 million.
Okay, yeah. No, I have hurt feelings. Well, here's $150 million. I'm good.
Yeah.
Come here, Dak. Give me a hug.
Last one. Cowboys have won 12 games each of the last 3 seasons. Their win total this year is set at 10.5. So I know you're thinking easy money. But according to Peter Dewey of Sports Illustrated, Dallas has the most money wagered on them to go under their win total. For what it's worth, going over their win total in the last 3 years, making money, Cowboys and the Steelers. So better bet over 10.5 wins or under 10.5 wins.
So I'd begrudgingly go over because they are a great home team. They are a great division team. And they have 8 games of their schedule against Washington, the Giants, and the NFC South. And so when you look at who they've been, I think we can show it to you at home and in the division the last couple years, they have been a thoroughly dominant team. If we can't show it to you, they're 16-1, or that's division, so I was going to say home. The last 3 years in the division, they're best division team in football. Now that's something of an indictment on the Giants and Washington, but it is what it is. And then we can show you what they've been at home the last couple years. That's where the 16-1 is. So I just think the Dallas Cowboys they're going to win 7 home games.
Yeah.
And so, because they get 9, I think the NFC this year is the conference that gets 9 of them. And so I would say despite all of the oddities of the offseason, it doesn't speak to will they be a playoff team. I'm sorry, will they perform in the playoffs? But I think they'll win 11 games.
Well, they lost 8 free agents, which is third most in franchise history, including all-pro center, all-pro left tackle. They lost their running back who averaged 4 yards a carry, replaced him with a guy who averaged 3.5 yards a carry. Their 3 best players are all having contract disputes. The quarterback's on a 1-year contract, the defensive coordinator's on a 1-year contract. And there's a lot of other noise going on for a season where they were going all in. So
I agree with all of that.
It could be problematic.
So you think that? So you would bet the under right now?
I would bet the under because I also think that Philly, who had a bunch of problems, proactively went out and addressed them. Problem in the secondary, drafted a bunch of corners, changed the defense. They got Saquon Barkley. They tried to fix the problems where Dallas has just been moving pieces around and guys have been leaving.
Golf cart ride with.
Oh yeah.
And then you had a good quarterback in Washington, and who knows?
I'm with Coach. I'm with Coach on this. I would bet the under.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would just look at the other 2 teams, not even Philly. I would look at the Commanders and look at the Giants. If we're sitting here making it seem like they didn't improve at all, then we're kidding ourselves. Like the Giants have improved, especially on the defensive side of the ball. We'll see what Daniel Jones is going to look like.
But wasn't it 40-0 against the Giants? Even if one got worse and one improved.
Nick, seriously, it was like you were in front of.
Oh, they remade the whole offensive line with the Giants?
Like